course, he'll show it to us. Maybe I don't have to be so worried about that. Okay. This is the Joint Budget and Finance Committee meeting and special called Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, October 11th, 2021. It is 3:30 p.m. The meeting is hereby called to order. Meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes, or are there any changes?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the meeting minutes of September 27th, 2021.
Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that those meeting minutes are approved. Now we are to consideration of the consent agenda. Madam President Pro Tem, do you have any items you'd like to add?
Yes, I do. I would like to offer the following items for consideration for consent. Item number 5 on page 1. Items number 6, 7, and 8 on page 2. Item number 11 on page 3. Item 13 on page 4. Item 16 and 17 on page 5. And I'm not certain about number 9.
Okay, I've gotten a little behind here.
Okay, that's okay, sorry.
Okay, 14, 15. On page 5, items 16 and 17.
Yes, item
Consent.
16, 17 for consent, yes.
Okay. Gee, Dr. O'Quinn did not join us today.
I know it. I'm so used
Don't
to
know
seeing
what
him
to
down
think.
there.
Okay. I'm going to read out the items that have been suggested for consent. They are on the first page, item 5. On the second page, items 6, 7, and 8. And I understand that item 9 is being withdrawn because we've already heard it.
It's CAPS. It's the yearly agreement with CAPS. They have a different name this year, so that's just why it probably didn't look familiar to the committee.
Okay, item 9 is CAPS.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure does look like something else.
So what's their name? Oh, I
Number
see.
9?
We're talking about 9.
Okay, 9 is, but 9 is for sure withdrawn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
9 is for sure withdrawn, correct? Okay. Then item 11 on page 3 has been suggested for consent. Item 13 on page 4 has been suggested for consent, and items 16 and 17 on page 5.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I move that these items be consented.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So those items have been placed on consent, and if you're here for one of those items, you can leave unless you're just enjoying our company. So the first item that we're going to consider today is item 4, an ordinance granting a franchise to TechLinks, Inc., DBA, as C-Spire for a period of 10 years to install and maintain telecommunication facilities and systems within the city's rights-of-way and certain other matters more fully contained in the franchise agreement. C-Spire will pay to the city an annual franchise fee equal to 5% of gross receipts collected within the corporate limits of the city and 1.5% of gross receipts collected within the city's police jurisdiction. This has been submitted by the mayor's office.
There was a little bit of a change there in red.
Okay. So who is going to be speaking to us today, Mr. Mitchell?
Good afternoon, Madam Councilwoman and President Pro Tem.
Okay, I want to warn everyone, we have a really poor microphone that doesn't pick up very well, and so you really have to speak into it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, Madam Councilwoman and President Pro Tem. I'm Lucian Blankenship. Go ahead.
There's a correction to the language.
Yes, sir, we've just received that correction to the language. Sorry. Are you ready, Mr. Blankenship?
I am, Madam Chair. And, I mean, you read the item regarding C-Spire, and we're presenting on behalf of the Law Department and the Mayor's Office in terms of this presentation. I guess I first want to start out and just introduce some people that I have here. I have Katie Wallace, who's the Deputy General Counsel of C-Spire. She's here also. We kind of worked on this agreement along with City Attorney King probably the last 3 years just to kind of get it to this point. So, and we had an opportunity to go before President Pro Tem's committee. We've gone to Economic Development, and we're now here. This is an agreement that's going to generate a new franchise agreement for the City of Birmingham as it relates to C-Spire and the services that they want to offer in the city. I want to make sure that we clarify the language in the submission. Is that, you understand, are you okay with that now? Is that clear?
Yeah, you're just adding the line to provide telecommunications service and other services to include broadband.
Right, right.
And I guess that's to exclude other things that we're not.
Right. And I guess the biggest thing is that new federal law that actually prohibits you the opportunity to collect on broadband the way you traditionally would. That's a new federal law, so you can't collect on the broadband piece of it. That's an exclusion on the other services, but they are going to be paying franchise fee on the other allowable items. And I've actually, if there's any confusion or you need additional clarification, I've got some other documents that I can share with you if necessary.
Okay, but this language that we've been provided is the new and accurate language in red.
It is.
Correct. Okay.
And I'll have, I actually want to let Ms. Wallace come up for a second and just kind of share a little bit about their company and, you know, some of the things they want to try and do in the city. Obviously, they had a more detailed plan 3 years ago for deployment purposes, but we've gotten so far behind, they've kind of got to go back to the table and actually kind of redevelop that plan, and then, you know, we're going to share that as well. So I'm going to ask her to come up.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie Wallace. Like Lucian said, I'm Deputy General Counsel for C-Spire. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of C-Spire. We are located and headquartered in Ridgeland, Mississippi. We started out in the 1960s as a local telephone company, then expanded into cellular wireless services in Mississippi, and are the largest privately held wireless carrier in the country. But we provide wireless services mostly throughout Mississippi, a small portion of Alabama. Through that, we expanded into the fiber broadband service, and that's what I'm here about today. We would like to bring fiber broadband to Birmingham, Alabama. In 2019, C-Spire made the commitment to expand into Alabama, and we've been making a lot of strides doing so in the last few years. We have franchise agreements all around Birmingham, Homewood, Hoover, Jefferson County, about to have one with Mountain Brook, and then also around Baldwin County, Fairhope, on the Alabama coast, Jasper, Alabama, Trussville, Helena, Pelham. And so, of course, we want Birmingham to be a part of our expansion. And so what we do is we provide fiber directly to the home for residential service. That's 1 gigabit services that's symmetrical. That means you can upload and download. It's wonderful for families who are doing multiple things on the internet at one time, virtual school, working from home, watching Netflix. And so that's our service. It's a premium service. It's a great opportunity for Birmingham. We also provide business services. So there's an opportunity for small businesses and large businesses to grow through our fiber broadband services. So that's just a little summary of what we're looking to do in Birmingham. I'm happy to answer any questions or let Lucian do it if it has to do with the agreement.
We'll both do it, but I just want to make sure she added the fact that we are going to be talking about some specific things. I think we brought it up in Council Pro Tem's committee about some broadband opportunities where C-SPAR can partner to specific areas within the city to kind of help create those deployment opportunities in some underserved areas. So, and I mentioned to Councilman Wardeen that we would make sure we connected with her office and kind of got some guidance.
Remember our microphone, if you don't.
I apologize. I'm just saying we just want to make sure that
We can hear you, we just don't know what you're saying.
Oh, well, I got a mask on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but it's the microphone
Okay.
mainly. It's not you, but you just have to speak.
I'll try and speak a lot
Closer
to it. I just kind of want to reiterate that there are going to be some opportunities for C-SPAR to partner with the city in various specific areas that will provide opportunity to deploy broadband to some underserved area or some specific areas that the city feels that there's a need to. They're willing to partner with that, and we're going to hash that out as part of a separate agreement if necessary, but they've already agreed to do some of those things. We just got to coordinate those things. So they're looking forward to doing business in the city, and hopefully the city is going to welcome them.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. I'm glad you did mention that and bring that up because that was a question, Mrs. Abbott, that came out of our committee meeting, and there was a commitment there that was expressed by C-SPAR, especially as we've gone through COVID-19 and we've seen the importance of being able to stream and get access. That's one of the things we've seen that has been lacking in certain areas, and so that was our goal, was to be sure that some of these specific areas were targeted that may not have those services, and that's what they're going to bring back in a second opportunity for us to listen to as well, correct?
Definitely. And if there's something specific you want to make sure that I get to them, just kind of let me know. I'll make sure we do that as well.
Well, and that was the question that I had about the rollout plan. Which portions of Birmingham will you be starting with, and where will you be going after that? Because we know that we have some real dead spots in Birmingham, and then of course we have people who maybe can't afford the cost of broadband. So do you have any programs for people who would like to have it but aren't necessarily financially able?
I'm going to let Ms. Watts kind of speak to the more details of it, but I do know that there was an initial plan, but like I said, because of the delay, it's been like 3 years, so they had to move on to other markets, but they made a commitment to kind of redevelop a deployment plan for Birmingham. And I'll let Kitty, you want to speak to a specific question?
So like Lucian said, we started off trying to start with Birmingham, and because we had some issues getting this agreement moved along, that's why we've built out outside of the city, as I mentioned earlier. But the way we work is a crowdsourcing model. On our website, cspire.com, anybody can go on right now and enter their zip code and indicate that they're interested in broadband service. And it literally begins to show a progress bar by the more people that have signed up. And so what we do is when we have reached a certain threshold that we need to be able to justify the cost of build out, that's where we build. So it's completely crowdsourced, and it's an opportunity to champion the service by, whatever ward you're in. You can encourage your residents to go on, sign up, say they want it, and when we reach that threshold, we build out. So we completely use that as our guide to building out. I hope that's helpful to understand, but I think that means that there's an opportunity to overcome any type of issues that you would have with demand if your people sign up. As to programs, the FCC and USAC have I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's the Emergency Broadband Benefit, the EBB program, and it is offered to people who can't afford broadband. So if C-SPIRE does offer broadband in an area where someone qualifies for that EBB service, it would be a prime opportunity for them to get assistance with paying for that. And that's already set up through the FCC and USAC.
Okay, so they would tell you if the person was qualified, and then you would provide the service?
That's right. It's sort of they go on our website, they fill out something, it gets sent to the FCC. The FCC says yay or nay, and then they receive the service in that way. So this is something that's just been created by the FCC in the last, I think it launched in July of this year, so it's very new. But I think that I just read in the paper that it's supposed to be in the large infrastructure bill. They expect for it to be around for a while. So, of course, it's going to take a while for C Spire to, assuming we get this franchise, for us to then be able to build and deploy our services. But assuming that service is still available, that would be the prime vehicle for someone who was low income and needed help getting internet service.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I don't have any other questions, no, thank you.
Okay, we need a motion, and we'll be ready to rock and roll.
I move that we accept this item number 4, or approve the item number 4.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that will be sent to the full council for approval,
Thank you all.
or for consideration, I should say. Okay, our next item is item 10 on page 3, and I believe that item 10 has companion items 14 and 15. And before I read all this, is Ms. Muller here? Okay, I'm going to read the items. A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver an agreement with the East Lake Initiative, a locally based IRC Section 501c3 federally income tax exempt Alabama nonprofit corporation in an amount not to exceed, I assume. It just says amount to exceed $10,000. I'm sure that was a typo. Right, Mr. Chaz? Not to exceed? Okay. I don't want to change it without your agreement. I'll get in trouble. Okay, not to exceed $10,000 and no hundreds dollars for a term not to exceed 6 months, to provide professional assistance in order to conduct one-on-one onboarding and benefits counseling to 110 individual benefit recipients of the mayor's for the Mayor's for a Guaranteed Income pilot program in the city of Birmingham. Yes, it's okay. Now, the next item that is a companion to that is item 14, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver a memorandum of understanding with Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, an IRC Section 501c3 federally income tax exempt nonprofit corporation to conduct a guaranteed income pilot program in the city of Birmingham utilizing a grant of $500,000 on behalf of the city from Mayors for a Guaranteed Income to provide monthly payments of $500 a month to 110 benefit recipients. Who writes these things? My goodness. Number 15, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver an agreement with the Penny Foundation, a locally based IRC Section 501c3 federally income tax exempt Alabama nonprofit corporation in an amount not to exceed $40,000 for a term not to exceed 1 year to receive a grant in the amount of $500,000 and no hundreds dollars from the Mayors for a Guaranteed Income to conduct a guaranteed income pilot in the city to provide monthly payments of $500 a month to 110 benefit recipients. Ms. Muller.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, President Pro Tem Alexander. My name is Amelia Muller, and I serve as Civic Design Principal in the Mayor's Office on the strategy team. and I am joined by my colleague, Sarah McMillan, whom will introduce herself.
Good afternoon. I'm Sarah McMillan. I am the Manager of Workforce and Talent Development in the Office of Innovation and Economic Opportunity.
So we'll provide a quick overview of the items. It's a little dense in the actual agenda listings. So I'll provide an overview, and then Sarah can answer any of the more detailed questions. So we have been working for the last several months with an organization called Mayors for a Guaranteed Income. It's a national nonprofit that was founded by former Mayor Michael Tubbs in Stockton, California, based on the findings that he and his team had from a guaranteed income pilot that they ran in their city. They have graciously granted the city $500,000 to run a similar pilot here in Birmingham. So before you are a memorandum of understanding to accept those funds and to partner then with the Penny Foundation to administer those funds, and with Eastlake Initiative to assist with onboarding for the participants in the pilot. So those are the three items before you. And Sarah will explain the sort of broad contours of what guaranteed income is and the pilot.
Thanks. So we're proposing a pilot called Embrace Mothers. It's a guaranteed income pilot that will serve single female heads of families serving as caregivers of children under 18. So essentially what we're proposing is that, and just to make one quick correction, the monthly payments will be $375, not $500, or not $500. So essentially the first thing I'd like to just point out is guaranteed income is a no strings attached cash payment that's made directly to individuals. As a point of clarification, a lot of times it is associated with universal basic income, and the two of those things are different in that guaranteed income has some sort of qualifier. So in this case, being a single female identifying head of family with children under 18 in the house is the qualifier, so it's guaranteed income. So our pilot will be 12 months long, so we'll be engaging 110 benefit recipients over a 12-month period. Each of those women will receive $375 each month. In addition to that 110 women who will receive the benefit, we'll also engage a 132-person control group, and that is part of that. Through this partnership with Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, we're also receiving the support of a third-party research partner. So this is a randomized control trial. So those 132 other people who will be selected will not receive the benefit, and they will be engaged through that third-party provider. And I think it's important in that to mention that because we are engaging this research partner, the City of Birmingham will have no stake in who is selected. So there will be an open application to which people will apply. The third-party research partner will have access to all of the applicants' information. They'll clean the data and then make the selections randomly, and we will never receive information of who applied, their names, information. That will all be the third-party research partner. So we have engaged, as Amelia mentioned, we've engaged the Penny Foundation as our fiscal agent in this. They'll be distributing the payments. We'll be using the Mocafy platform to distribute these payments. And then also in conjunction with the partnership, we're also required to provide benefits counseling to the recipients, because one of the biggest things with guaranteed income is that this is intended to be something that runs alongside social service benefits. So it's not meant to replace any existing benefits, but really to give people an income floor for economic stability. And so we are providing benefits counseling at the onset of the program so that people know how this monthly payment may interact with their existing benefits. I think I'm trying to. I'll stop there and see if you guys have any questions.
Questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Just a couple of questions. We didn't talk a bit about, is there income, or how does one get to qualify for this program?
Absolutely. So we're working with the Atlanta Fed right now to try to determine what might be a good income threshold. We want to make sure that we are not just using arbitrary numbers or just kind of saying like blanketly you have to be under 40,000, because we understand that there's several nuances in receiving already existing benefits, and so we want to make sure that we're capturing a population that could benefit from an additional $375 that maybe isn't eligible for other existing benefits. So we're still working on that a little bit and haven't made that determination just yet.
Okay. And one other question. I am glad to see the benefits counseling piece in here, because I was wondering, what is the literacy path? Or, you know, after we give the dollars, then is there any type of financial literacy or any type of counseling, so that as you take in this money, there's some type of help and assistance with how to make it apply? Because you said it's not meant to take away any of the social services that you're already receiving, correct?
Yes, exactly. And so this is like, I think, where we have a really tremendous opportunity to see some impact here. When we're providing that benefits counseling, a lot of that can be done beforehand, like to kind of tee up what they can expect, but this one-on-one onboarding session where they'll also kind of sign off that they understand the benefits aspect, I think that they say there's about 50 other cities that are currently running pilots or have ran pilots, and so we have a lot to work with here, but a lot of our peer cities are saying that these sessions last about 90 minutes. So these are one-on-one opportunities to engage with our residents deeply, and so that's like that's really exciting opportunity for us to offer some services.
Okay, and just one last question. The Penny Foundation is the fiscal agent, and you haven't decided yet who would be I know they're going to administrate money as far as a fiscal agent, but you're looking for another organization that's going to actually work with the recipients of the funds?
So I neglected to mention that we're working with the Eastlake Initiative to provide the benefits counseling.
All right. Thank
and
you.
also working on resourcing some other, or indexing some other resources out there, which we'll have on a website, because all of the opportunities that we offer those 110 benefit recipients will also have to offer the 132-person control group.
And the only reason I asked that question, I just wanted to be sure the agency that we choose to help with administration or help with that part of the program, you know, it was new for us as we went into our renters and utilities assistance. And so we saw some of the, I don't want to say hiccups, but we saw some of the learning curves or lessons learned that we had with that. So just being sure that as we select this agency, we feel that they already have some experience in this and can guide that process more than it being a lessons learned opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can add, so Eastlake Initiative, with whom we're partnering to provide the benefits counseling, is a previous grantee through the Women's Fund of IEO's BOLD program. So we have confidence in their ability to deliver this kind of consulting. They've done it frequently before. And I think more broadly, too, the way these payments are structured is frankly a lot simpler than any of these other federal programs, and that's actually the research intent of the pilot, is to look at, if we kind of remove all these qualifications and just keep a pretty simple baseline, how can we get people the resources that they need as quickly as possible? So we're really excited about the research potential for that very reason.
Yeah. I won't take up all the time for questions. I know Ms. Abbott, her pen is going over there, so she probably has some questions. Thank you, Ms. Abbott.
Well, yeah, my pen's always going. I wanted to ask about the entity that's giving the money. Are they the ones that have selected the entity that does the study and selects the recipients?
Yes.
Okay, and I know most of the people who are out there raising children alone are women, but there are also a fair number of men.
Yeah.
Were they excluded because men traditionally have higher incomes than women do, or why is this focusing just on women?
No, that's a great question, and we had a pretty extensive process in the beginning where we engaged a ton of people and just threw out a ton of populations out there that could have benefited from this, and it was a hard decision, but we knew that the pandemic impacted women on a disproportionate level to their peers, and specifically men. And we know that I think the most recent statistic we have is about 45% of the family households in Birmingham that are helmed by only one adult are females. So we know that disproportionately there are more single-parent households led by a female in Birmingham than by males. So that's why we chose to make that consideration, but a lot of it had to do with how the pandemic really impacted women, and we saw a need to really wrap our arms around women at this time, specifically mothers.
So did you just say that 45% of the single-parent households are headed by women?
Yes.
So the other 55%?
No, I'm sorry. 45% of households in Birmingham with children are single-parent households led by a woman. So of the total households with children in Birmingham, 45% of those are single mothers.
Okay, because I was trying to figure out who the other 55% were, if they weren't mothers. But I guess grandparents. Anyway, I misunderstood.
And we recognize that there's some nuance there too. So it might be a grandmother, it might be an aunt, it might be a caregiver that doesn't necessarily identify as a mother but is a woman.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all my questions. I think this sounds very interesting. I've been hearing something similar on NPR where they talk about the impact on the children, which is the whole point, to impact the children by giving the parents extra money that maybe they can provide better everything.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion.
Yes. I move for approval of items, and I'm trying to make sure I call the right numbers. That was item 10, 14, and 15, correct?
Yes.
All right. I move for approval of those items.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So those items pass and will be sent to the full council for consideration. Now, our other item is item 12, a resolution pursuant to section 11-47-19, Code of Alabama 1975, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with City Center District Management Corporation and expend funds in an amount not to exceed $9,000 pursuant to section 11-47-19 Code of Alabama 1975 and the City Code of Birmingham to designate geographic areas of the city as self-help business improvement districts to contribute to the health, prosperity, and welfare of the people of the city. Funds shall be paid from account number 001-96700-96718.550-006.
Any questions?
Mitchell,
Yes, this is just our yearly agreement with CAPS.
couldn't you have said that? Then I wouldn't have had to read all that. CAPS.
Yes, CAPS. It's just a name change.
Oh, they've changed their name.
Yeah, that's the new technical name for it.
Okay, so CAPS is no longer CAPS.
It's still CAPS. It's just that's the technical name that's on the agreement.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we know who CAPS is. I do have a question, which is probably unrelated, but it's about CAPS. At one time, CAPS was going to come to 5 Points South and something happened. Do y'all know if that's still being considered?
I vaguely remember that. Let us research that because we have to change the district map for them to go up further. And I know it's something that has to deal with the grant agreement that they have with Rail Birmingham. But let me research that and get back to you.
Yeah, because 5 Points South has been having issues, and it would be really a great thing if CAPS was there. It's just that I can't remember. It's just been so long since we talked about it. So if you can find out,
That's the last time we extended the map to, I think, 2nd Avenue South, and then we extended it west towards, Uptown. Yeah, we'll find out.
Okay, thank you. It'd be good probably for all of us to see the map anyway. So do we have a motion?
Move the item.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that item passes. And now we are
Our addendum.
done with our normal agenda, and I believe that Mr. Smith is here to see us?
Yes, as he's come, yes, we have a refunding item that we would like to present to Budget and Finance.
Okay, so we're going to number it 17B.
That's correct.
And I know, Mr. Smith, that you sent us information ahead of time, so now you can just explain it to us.
I'll do my best.
Thank you. Remember our microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish we could afford to get a new one. Or maybe a second one to balance it out. Thank you.
So good afternoon. My name is Lester Smith. I serve as a financial advisor to the mayor. What we've got before you today is this is a continuation of what we've been doing over the last 2.5 years. This is really tied to the overall credit rating of the city of Birmingham. One of the items that we continually get cited on is our above average debt. So back in October and then again in January, we brought before City Council a recommendation for bond refunding. At that time, I believe the total amount of the bond refunding we did was around $210 million. I think it had a total savings of about $78 million, with the net present value at that time being $44 million. So that was phase one. We continue to evaluate the outstanding debt of the city of Birmingham and look for opportunities as a result of change in the market to go back out and do additional refunding. So this is nothing more than a continuation of the approach that we've tried to apply to the overall, what I call fiscal responsibility of the city. What we have before you today is this is going to be the voted bonds. So you're very familiar with the general fund. This is dealing with the debt reserve fund. And the debt reserve fund, we've got about $118 million worth of bonds that right now it's beneficial if we do a refunding. We'll end up reducing the outstanding debt on those to about $79 million. So that's going to be a savings of around $37 million with a net present value savings of $13 million. So the reason we feel is so advantageous is that, and I've got members of our bond team here today that'll be able to go into more detail, but if you think about your home mortgage, basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be reducing your 30-year mortgage by 6 years. Okay, we're going to be reducing the amount. If you think about $118,000 mortgage, we're going to be reducing it by about $37,000. This is also going to provide additional capacity in that debt reserve. That by paying this down, you'll now going forward, you'll have more available capacity to go out and borrow funding. And then the main reason we're doing this is because it's a continuation of what this administration and this council has already been very successful at, which is improving the city's fiscal health. I think we saw that in the last credit rating agency review that we went through with Moody's when they upgraded us from a negative outlook to a stable outlook. This opportunity will also provide us or afford us the opportunity to go back before the credit rating agencies for another review, and I'm hoping that those will be just as beneficial. So once again, it's bonds totaling about $118 million that'll be refunded. The refunding balance will be $79 million. Total reduction in debt service, $37 million, with net present value of $13 million. Today, I have our financial advisors. I have Goodloe White with Porter White and Company here in Birmingham. I also have Matthew Arrington with Terminus Municipal Advisors out of Atlanta. And then I have Gary Ram with Stiefel, who will be acting as one of the underwriters. And then the other underwriter is also Raymond James, who also assisted us on the last bond offering. I do have individuals here who are acting as bond counsel for us from Maynard Cooper. With that, though, what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn the mic over, so to speak, to both Goodloe and Matthew to go through the presentation. Before I do that, do you have any questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you said in the beginning that we get criticized for our bonded indebtedness, that we have too much. And so then you said we were going to do this to reduce our debt
Yes, ma'am.
so that we could borrow more money.
Not so much borrowing more money. What it allows you to do, though, is you've got the capacity in the future as if you wanted to. I'm not at this mic today suggesting that you do that, okay? I'm just letting you know that there's several benefits to this, and that is one of the benefits. Whether or not you decide to act on that, that would be a decision for both the council and the administration.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check on that because it seemed a little inconsistent.
It would be the same thing as if you paid down part of your mortgage. By paying down your mortgage, what you'd end up doing is you'd have more availability from a credit standpoint. That doesn't mean that you necessarily have to go back out there and fill it up, so to speak.
But if we're being criticized for having too great of a debt load, then going out and borrowing more money
Correct.
seems illogical, but
Now, one thing I would add is that we've made great strides. When you look at the evaluation from the credit rating agencies pertaining to debt, keep in mind they also always took into consideration the pension liability, that unfunded pension liability. And that has, we've gotten that under control now, so that's also helped us out.
good, thank you.
I've got, I'll give these to pass out. This is just a listing of the bond team. Out of your way, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Is the microphone picking me up? A little bit. Okay.
Yeah, see, you're too tall for
I'm
our
too
little
tall,
short microphone.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be before you again. I know as we went through this process a year ago and then also in January, one of the things that we do along with Terminus, Goodloe White, president of Porter White and Company, is we help the city evaluate these opportunities for refunding to make sure it rises to a level that we think we should go forward with a transaction because the potential savings are big enough. And as Lester said, at some point the savings are there, assuming the market stays where it is, and we would recommend getting ready to do a refunding transaction. So this is the same team that went to market a year ago and also last January for the city and in putting this transaction together. And we were looking at certain things last January, an update maybe in March. And basically in mid-September, interest rates came to a range where we thought it was just compelling enough, too compelling not to do anything. So it's just, we're not suggesting you refund all the debt, but just the ones in the series that make sense. So if you look at the first page, and we just summarized the refunding transaction goals, and it's really to take advantage of the interest rate environment to reduce the final maturity of the bond payments. And in doing so, because we have savings, there is the potential, and I think it's always good for the city to have the opportunity to issue debt if it wanted to. We're not saying that it should, and always should. And this is in the voted bond side of the equation. And this is just part of the continually trying to improve the overall city's health. And there have been a lot of things that have been done in the last year and this is just another incremental step as we see it. So based on current market conditions, it reduces the debt service by $37 million over time, which if you discounted it into today's dollars would be $13 million. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Gary Rem from Stifel to give you a few more of the details of the actual bonds being refunded. And then I'd like to turn it over to Matthew Arrington at Terminus to explain the graph that you'll see on the fourth page.
Good afternoon, Councilor Abbott, Councilor Alexander, Councilor Woods. Gary Rem with Stifel. On page 3 in front of you, we have the 3 sets of voted bond obligations that we're considering for refunding that total approximately $63 million. we show the performance of that refunding. If you'll go to the next to right column, the present value savings percentage, you'll see in total it's a little less than 21%. Just to sort of give some context to that performance. Really on a taxable advance refunding, which is what this is, in our view, anything above 5% at least deserves discussion. So this is 4 times that performance. And then in terms of the context of the last year, you did refinancings last October and then in January. If you had done these $63 million at that time in October with the rates that you got then, that present value savings performance would have been 14% rather than this approximately 21. So it's improved by half. In January, that performance would have been 18%. So it's improved then. So at that time, the decision was made to wait, and thus far that has proven beneficial. Also, to give another comparison, the bottom bullet point you'll see there says the structure will be accelerated. Matthew will review that on the next page shortly, but this is the exact same approach that the city took with the voted bond refunding in October of last year. That was approximately $72 million in principal. This is 63. That got approximately 24 to 25% PV savings. This is 21, so relatively similar to what you got on an accelerated bond refunding a year ago. So that's the detail on the 3 series, and then Matthew can review the structure on the following page.
Good evening. Matthew Arrington, excuse me, President of Terminus Municipal Advisors. I'll be brief and just kind of wrap this up. If we go to page 4 where you see the graph here, basically this represents your current debt structure that shows that your current debt goes out to 2045. The different colors, those represent how you're going to take the savings. So for instance, the brown represents the 37 million. Okay. Oh, they have a different color. Okay, I'm sorry. So the lighter color here kind of represents the 37 million in savings that Mr. Smith referenced at the very beginning. And the lighter blue are the savings that the city already realized. So basically what will happen is, like he said, you'll reduce this by 6 years. So the only thing you'll be left with will be the dark blue. So instead of going all the way to 45, it's just going to go out to 39. And again, we are not recommending, there is no plan for new debt, but as you can see, this kind of leaves a smooth amortization. There are really no valleys or any peaks here. So if you were to borrow in the future, you would kind of just fill in there starting in 34, just layer a little bit on top. But this, what it really does is just take off 6 years off what your current obligation is.
Before you go away from your chart.
Sure.
Can you just explain to us in years 2022, 2023, 24, and 25, the negative, I guess you'd call it a negative part of the graph, that why are those years different?
Those were already done in the previous transactions, but what happened is your debt service just increased a little bit in those years just to kind of bring it, you know, for instance, the debt service probably was below these lines, and we brought them all up again to kind of have that smoothing effect.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember this was explained before, and I just couldn't remember.
No, that's a great question.
It's been a little while, and I couldn't remember what it meant. And I'll ask anything. I mean, I'm not shy on asking questions. So sorry about that.
No, no problem.
Memory failure. Madam President Pro Tem or Councilor Woods, do you have any questions?
I had written myself a note. I did want to be sure that as we go through this process, we know that some of this positivity or what we're doing is impacted by how we dealt with our pension liability, correct? And so could you just say what that impact was when it comes to percentages or the rating or whatever?
Certainly. And if you turn to the last page,
okay,
there's a timeline, because as part of this, we will be going back to the rating agencies. Moody's, as Mr. Smith said, reviewed the city's credit over the summer. They're the only one that took a deep dive into everything that was done on a positive basis relating to the pension. And you saw they removed their negative outlook and went to neutral. Okay. We will be going through the same process with the other 3 rating agencies, trying to explain to them everything that has happened in the city and all the positive steps that have been taken. And so we hope that they will reflect that and in what they come out with this transaction. And so the nature of our business is we will wait around until markets move to the point that we think it's compelling to move. And then once we decide it's compelling, then we go as quickly as possible. And that's why everything seems to be in a hurry. We may have waited around for 6 to 9 months, but now we want to get to market while the market is there. So that's part of the process that we're going through and why it's always a little bit moving as fast as possible. You'll see that we've requested to go to the entire city council on the 19th. We would have rating agency meetings on the 20th and 21st. That would be the time, hopefully, when we have some updated financial information more recent than the Blue Book to show the rating agencies, receive those agencies and then go to market and price in the first part of November. So absolutely, that is very much part of the process in trying to explain, all the good steps that have been taken.
Okay, so this timeline, then looking at the timeline and the rating agency meetings, we're currently going in with a stable rating, or they took away the negative, so we're sort of at a...
Right, so we are AA rated by S&P and Kroll. They did not downgrade recently. Fitch downgraded the city twice, and the pension was their big issue. Moody's downgraded once and put the city on credit watch negative, implying that it would take action to downgrade further if nothing was done. And what they basically acknowledged is the city took action and they no longer have the negative watch. We have not had those discussions with the other 3 credit rating agencies.
And I guess I just want to echo Mrs. Abbott's question before about we're doing this. It gives us available capacity, but it doesn't mean that we're going out being aggressive about entering in any new ventures, or it's just give us that capacity. Like you were saying, I think, Mr. Smith, when you give the analogy towards lowering your debt through how you're dealing with your mortgage or paying off certain bills, that could increase your capacity if needed, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So think about, it's twofold, right? Every time you pay down your credit card balance, right? Now your available credit limit increases. That doesn't mean that you're going to go out and charge it, but what it means is that you are bringing your debt down. As a result of bringing your debt down, though, there is something positive happening if so ever you choose later to borrow money. So I guess what I'm saying is those are the benefits of this restructuring. The main thing that we're looking for here, though, is to reduce the total amount of debt. Okay, that is our primary focus here, which will strengthen the city's financial position relative to its credit rating.
All right, thank you. Those are all my questions, Ms. Abbott.
Councilor Woods, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just one real quick. If we could get just updates as credit rating information kind of comes in, if that could be shared just as those conversations happen and you get some sort of resolution.
Yes, sir. So as Goodloe has mentioned, we'll be going through the surveillances. I believe we have 2 on the 20th, 2 on the 21st. That's normal. And then they should be coming back with their findings.
By the 27th.
So they'll have those findings on the 27th. At that point in time, they'll send them to us for review. We'll sign off on them, and then they'll publish them the next day. At that point in time, we can get a copy of each of the ratings for all 4 agencies to you all. Awesome.
Thank you. And I have a question regarding back in the old days, before we had all these problems, we had bond issues that the city wanted to enter into and get a vote of the citizens, and the interest was paid by the sinking fund. I haven't heard anybody mention the word sinking fund in years, and I was wondering how the old sinking fund is doing. Did it sink or swim?
So Councilor Abbott, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So I think that like many things over time, the words that we assign to them change. The sinking fund is what we're referring to as the debt reserve fund. okay?
Well, it
So-
sounds more professional, and certainly the sinking fund confused the heck out of most people because it sounded like it was sinking.
So
And
these
that
bonds-
didn't sound good.
Yes, ma'am. So these bonds that we're speaking of, these are the voted bonds. And I think if you look at the chart, we may have even, I think they were gracious enough to put on there in one of the presentations that these are the voted bonds that
Yeah.
we're looking at refinancing. That's why at the beginning I said, remember our general fund over here? We've got our debt reserve / sinking fund. What we're speaking to today is that fund and the bonds that are in that fund.
Okay, so the terminology has changed, but the fund's still there. And that comes from a portion of people's property taxes. Isn't that accurate? Okay, well, we have 3 new people coming into the council who will need a education on all this fun stuff. It'd probably be several educations, because I personally have found that it's not easy to understand the first time you hear it, especially if you use the terminology of the sinking fund, which you
Councilor
won't do
Abbott.
anymore.
Since you asked about the health of the sinking fund or the bond reserve fund, I just wanted to give you some context of that because it has improved significantly. If you look at that bar chart, you'll see that the annual bond payments that we're talking about here are about $24 million a year. That stepped down from about $28 million in recent years. And there was a goal previously to try to have the bond reserve fund at about the annual payment level. So $28 million was the goal. And about 5 years ago, it was down to $18 million after the last referendum. So as of audited fiscal 20, this reserve fund balance is over $50 million. So that dynamic has changed dramatically in your favor. So I just want to give you some specifics.
Well, that's great. It's been quite a while since we went to the residents and asked them to vote on a bond issue. And, you know, under normal circumstances, we probably would have done that by now, but nothing is normal anymore. So thank you. Any other questions? Let's see, yes, we have an item.
Yes. I move that we approve item 17B.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passes, and we will send it to the full council for their consideration. Or actually, you will send it to the full council for consideration. But thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are to item 18.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move for adjournment.
I second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.